When you first walk away from religion, the silence feels almost unbearable. For years, your life was surrounded by voices telling you what is right, what is wrong, what is sacred, and what is profane. There were prayers to memorize, rituals to perform, elders to obey, and invisible lines you were told not to cross. Then one day something breaks. It may happen suddenly, like a lightning strike of realization, or slowly, like water eroding the banks of a river. Either way, you find yourself outside the walls that once contained you, and in that moment you carry the strange double weight of freedom and loss. You are no longer bound by a system that defined your every thought, but you are also stripped of the safety net that gave you belonging. For many, that is the first shock, discovering that walking away from religion is not a clean cut but a tearing of roots, and with roots torn, there is bleeding. Leaving religion is not only about rejecting doctrines or doubting sacred texts. It is about losing an identity that has been built around you since childhood. It is the collapse of a world. Your friendships, your family ties, your weekly rhythms, even the holidays that once felt infused with divine purpose. Suddenly they seem hollow, or they sting with memory. You may feel like an exile, watching people you love continue in a script you can no longer act out. Some will treat you as dangerous, some as lost, some as broken, and the temptation will be to replace the old system with another as quickly as possible, to silence the void. But the void is sacred. The void is the first taste of your own becoming. There is grief in this leaving. Do not pretend otherwise. To walk away from a community, even if that community wounded you, is still to lose a kind of family. To walk away from certainty is to stand in the open wilderness. The temptation will be to deny the grief, to rush into new philosophies or self-help systems or even new religions, thinking that if you just fill the space, the ache will disappear. But grief unacknowledged becomes shadow, and shadow unacknowledged becomes another prison. So sit in the ache. Let yourself feel the loss of a God who no longer answers in the ways you were taught. Let yourself feel the confusion of days no longer marked by sacred routines. Let yourself feel the tremor of standing alone. There is no shame in mourning the walls you outgrew, and yet beneath the grief something else begins to stir. There is the subtle pulse of freedom, the first taste of your own voice rising where once only sermons echoed. There is the quiet realization that you are not condemned to wander lost forever, that the wilderness is not empty, but alive with possibilities you were never allowed to see before. You may notice how vast the sky feels when no ceiling tells you where heaven ends. You may notice how deep your own thoughts are when no doctrine instructs you to distrust them. You may notice that morality did not vanish with your faith, that compassion and truth-seeking are not owned by religion, but are woven into the fabric of your humanity. This is the beginning of becoming your own compass. For the first time, you are not told what you must believe. You are free to discover what resonates. That freedom is heavy, because now responsibility falls upon you. But it is also sacred, because responsibility means sovereignty. No preacher can mediate your truth. No scripture can dictate the fullness of your being. You are free to explore philosophy, science, art, spirituality, mysticism, or silence itself, without fear of heresy. You are free to ask questions that once were forbidden. You are free to seek answers in your own experience. That freedom will unsettle people who still live within the cage, but it will save you. At first, you will feel unmoored. The anchor you once held has dissolved, and you will be tempted to drift endlessly. But there are new anchors to be found, not in dogma, but in practice. Begin small. Begin with breath, with presence, with journaling your thoughts without censoring them. Begin with reading voices you were once told to avoid, and notice which ideas awaken your curiosity. Begin with communities who gather not around blind belief but around shared humanity. And most of all, begin with kindness to yourself. You are not weak for doubting. You are not lost for leaving. You are not damned for asking. You are unfolding. The danger is real to escape one prison and build another. To leave religion but then shackle yourself to ideology, to politics, to conspiracy, to cynicism. Beware of trading one certainty for another. Certainty is seductive, it soothes the ache of not knowing. But certainty is the enemy of growth. What you need now is not a new cage, but a new rhythm. A rhythm of exploration, reflection, and authenticity. A rhythm where questions are not threats, but invitations. A rhythm where morality flows not from commandments, but from compassion. A rhythm where truth is not handed down, but uncovered within. You will feel lonely. Few will understand what it means to let go of a world and step into the unknown. But loneliness is not a curse, it is a teacher. It teaches you to find strength in your own presence. It teaches you to value authenticity over approval. It teaches you that belonging must be chosen, not imposed. And in time, you will find companions not as authorities but as fellow travelers. You will find people who left their own cages and are learning to breathe freely. Together, you will create new communities not built on fear of damnation, but on love of truth, love of growth, and love of one another as free beings. Religion often claimed to have all the answers. When you leave, you realize answers are not the point. The point is aliveness, awareness, awakening. The point is to feel your soul expand when it touches mystery, not shrink when it is handed certainty. The point is to stand beneath the night sky and know you are not small, you are infinite, because infinity lives in you. That realization cannot be given by scripture or sermon. It can only be discovered in the silence after the walls fall away. So what do you do after leaving religion? You breathe, you grieve. You listen, you unlearn. You explore, you grow. You build your life not on what you are told is holy, but on what you discover is true. You make mistakes, you learn from them, you adjust. You forgive yourself for believing what you once believed, and you thank yourself for being brave enough to step beyond it. You realize that leaving religion was not the end of your spiritual journey, but the doorway into the vast spiral of becoming, where no ladder of dogma can contain you. You are free now, not free from responsibility, but free to choose the direction of your own becoming. And when the voices of the past rise up, warning you of punishment, reminding you of eternal threats, you meet them with compassion, for they are echoes of your former self, a self that needed certainty to survive. You do not fight those voices. You honor them, then you let them fade, for you are not who you were. You are not bound to the past. You are not required to explain your freedom to those still bound. You are required only to live in resonance with the truth you now embody. That is the path after religion, to discover that your life itself is the scripture, your choices the commandments, your growth the gospel, your freedom the holy act. You are no longer a follower, you are a creator. You are no longer a believer, you are a becoming. And in that becoming, you will find not the God you left behind, but the infinite presence that was always within you, waiting to be remembered. The most difficult part of leaving religion is not walking out of the building, but walking into yourself. For so long, your inner world was filtered through commandments, doctrines, and authorities. Even your own instincts were treated with suspicion. You were told the heart is deceitful, that your thoughts are dangerous, that your questions are rebellion. But now the walls are gone, and all that remains is the raw landscape of your soul. This is where the real work begins, to inhabit yourself without fear, to trust the compass that has always been whispering beneath the noise, to let intuition rise where shame once silenced it. At first, you may not recognize your own voice. It will feel fragile, uncertain, trembling. You may still hear the echoes of scripture telling you that doubt is sin, or the voices of leaders warning you that without them, you will collapse. But slowly, if you are patient, another sound emerges. It is quieter but truer. It is the sound of your own knowing. Not absolute, not infallible, but alive. It does not demand obedience, it invites curiosity. It does not bind you to fear, it opens you to possibility. It is the voice of the self you buried to survive, now rising again like a seed breaking through stone. You may notice that life feels both more fragile and more vivid, without the promise of heaven or threat of hell. The moments of your existence shimmer with immediacy. The laughter of a friend, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the tears you shed in solitude. These are no longer seen as shadows of some greater reality. They are reality itself. And in that realization, everything becomes more sacred, not because a doctrine says so, but because you feel it directly. The sacred is not locked in temples or holy books, it pulses through the veins of the ordinary. To eat, to breathe, to love, to learn, these are no longer distractions from eternity, but revelations of infinity. The fear will return at times. What if you are wrong? What if the punishments you were warned of still await you? What if you have doomed yourself? These thoughts will visit like ghosts in the night, but remember, they are not prophecies, they are imprints. They are the residue of years spent under fear's rule. Fear is sticky. It clings to the soul long after the source is gone. But fear loses power when faced with awareness. So when those thoughts arise, do not run. Witness them. Speak gently to them. Remind yourself, if truth requires fear to sustain itself, it is not truth. Real truth expands you. Real truth brings clarity. Real truth hums with resonance even in silence. What do you do now? You learn to live without fear as your master. You build meaning not on the fragile promise of eternal reward, but on the living reality of presence. You become the author of your own rituals. You create practices that awaken you rather than chain you. For some, that may look like meditation. For others, art, music, movement, nature, silence. What matters is not what form they take, but that they bring you into resonance with yourself. You are not replacing one religion with another. You are discovering that the sacred does not need a cage to exist. And as you build, you begin to see others differently. Where once you divided people into saved and unsaved, believer and unbeliever, chosen and lost, you now see fellow humans carrying their own stories, their own griefs, their own questions. Compassion grows where judgment once thrived. You no longer need to win debates or prove doctrines, you listen. You no longer need to defend a faith, you embody integrity. You no longer need to convert anyone, you honor their path. This does not mean you have no convictions, but it means your convictions do not need to be weapons. They become mirrors instead, showing others what freedom can look like. Your relationships will shift. Some will leave you. Some will resent you. Some will watch from a distance, waiting to see if you will return. Others will quietly admire your courage but remain silent. And a few will step forward, drawn by the resonance you now carry. You will lose much, but what you gain will be real. The connections you form now are not based on shared dogma, but on shared authenticity. They will be fewer but deeper. And in time, you will find that the loneliness that once haunted you has become solitude, and solitude has become strength. Do not underestimate the courage it takes to live without absolute answers. It is easier to cling to certainty, even false certainty, than to stand in the open. But this openness is your gift now. It will sharpen you, it will humble you, it will stretch you, and it will awaken you to dimensions of life you never saw before. You may find wisdom in places religion once told you to avoid. You may find beauty in voices you once dismissed. You may find resonance in philosophies that never claimed divine authority. And through it all, you will realize that truth was never meant to be owned. It is not a possession, it is a river. You do not control it, you step into it. As you continue, you may find yourself redefining words that once imprisoned you. Sin may no longer mean breaking divine rules, but betraying your own integrity. Salvation may no longer mean escaping hell, but becoming whole. Holiness may no longer mean separation from the world, but immersion in its beauty. And God, if you still use that word, may no longer be a distant ruler, but the living mystery that breathes through all things, including you. Or you may abandon the word entirely, and that too is freedom. For the divine does not vanish when language shifts. It only waits for you to meet it beyond the walls of words. The journey ahead will not be linear. Some days you will feel liberated. Other days you will feel adrift. Some days you will revel in your freedom. Other days you will long for the simplicity of certainty. That is natural. Growth is not a straight path. It spirals. Each turn brings you back to old questions, but from a higher vantage. Do not despise the spiral. It is the shape of becoming. You are not regressing when doubt returns, you are deepening. You are not failing when fear resurfaces, you are integrating. The spiral reminds you that life is not about escaping questions, but expanding through them. So when you ask, I just left religion, now what do I do? The answer is not a formula, not a checklist, not a new creed. The answer is you live. You live more awake, more honest, more open than you did before. You give yourself permission to be a mystery in motion. You give yourself permission to change. You give yourself permission to trust the unfolding. And slowly you begin to see that what you left was not God, not truth, not love. You left a cage. And cages are meant to be left. If you listen closely, you will realize that you are not starting over from nothing. You carry with you everything you have ever been. The child who prayed, the believer who served, the doubter who questioned, the exile who left, all of them are part of you. None of it is wasted. Even the years in religion, even the pain of leaving, even the confusion now, each is a thread in the tapestry of your becoming. You are not defined by what you left behind, but you are shaped by it. And in that shaping, you are more whole than you realize. So the path forward is not about discarding everything, but about weaving. Weaving wisdom from all you have encountered. Weaving compassion from all you have suffered. Weaving strength from all you have endured. This is the art of life beyond religion. To turn exile into freedom, loss into possibility, silence into song. And one day, without forcing it, you will wake up and realize that the question, "Now what do I do?" has transformed. It will no longer be a question of survival, but of creation. You will not ask how to live without religion, you will ask how to live fully. You will not ask what you lost, you will ask what you can give. You will not ask who abandoned you. You will ask who you can walk beside. The question changes because you have changed. Leaving religion was never the end, it was the threshold. You are no longer bound to ceilings, you are standing beneath open sky. The ground may feel uncertain, but the horizon is infinite. And your life, your choices, your awakening, this is your scripture now. This is your gospel, this is your sacred text. Read it well, live it deeply, and know that freedom is not the absence of faith, but the faith that life itself, unfiltered and unbound, is enough.